今天的节目邀请到来自香港的创业家 Jeanie 来跟我们聊聊她来台湾创业的历程跟初心，借此我们也可以了解到双语的重要性以及行销在国内跟国外的不同。Hello， 欢迎来到 Executive Plus 主管与沟通力的 Podcast。I'm Sherry, an educator, certified coach, and style enthusiast. 我相信专业有效的沟通是语言跟逻辑的完美结合。
And I'm Nick, a startup consultant, corporate trainer, and late-night gaming junkie. I believe great communication requires the right mindset and solid frameworks.
我们希望带给大家职场英语的技能、跨文化沟通技巧与其他能帮助您成为出色领导者的工具。
Join us each week as we share our experience, research, and methodologies to take your communication and language skills from good to great. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Executive Plus podcast. Today, we have a special guest, someone who is an expert in the field of digital marketing and has brought her expertise from Hong Kong, where she's seen everything both from global marketing to local marketing. And now she's here in Taiwan helping foreign entrepreneurs really build out their digital marketing and understand how to create local content that resonates and tells a story of residents here in Taiwan. So thank you, Jeanie, for joining us.
Hi, Jeanie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jeanie Choi from Hong Kong. I'm the founder of Digital Marketing Taiwan. So 大家好，我係嚟自香港嘅 Jeanie。I'm
so excited to welcome Jeanie here today in our studio. 那 Jeanie 呢，当然她来自香港的，那她也是来台湾创业，那我觉得非常的厉害。We'll list down all the information about digital marketing Taiwan, like all the IG, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can go ahead and follow her. But today we just want to have a conversation with her, and I know her expertise is in marketing. So would you like to tell us a little bit about your company and how you got started?
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. I have been a regular listener since I discovered this amazing podcast. And I think the skills of communication is very important, especially if you are an entrepreneur. So I have come to Taiwan for 2.5 years now. And I started my company when I come to Taiwan. But back then, when I was in Hong Kong, I'm already in the digital marketing field for a few years. So when I come to Taiwan, one thing that I noticed, which is very different from Hong Kong, is that Hong Kong is a bilingual city, and we have every kind of information bilingual, including marketing informations. But in Taiwan, when I first come here, I was kind of shocked that such information about marketing trends and how digital marketing works here in Taiwan is not much information in English is available. And so when I Google things like digital marketing trends in Taiwan, back when I was first come here, there would be only a few articles and very limited amount of information, and most of them would be kind of outdated. So I'm thinking that as a foreign entrepreneur, I would say that I'm lucky, I'm blessed that I'm come from Hong Kong, and the way how we Hong Kongers read and write Chinese is exactly the same with Taiwanese. So we can understand Chinese information, and we have no problems absorbing marketing information from the internet, but it is something that foreign entrepreneurs are deprived of because there are not much English information in that aspect. So I founded my company, and we set out to be an English-speaking marketing agency to help entrepreneurs to understand the marketing landscape here in Taiwan. So apart from, obviously I'm an entrepreneur, but I would consider myself content creator because I devote a large amount of times in creating English informations, explaining marketing trends or how entrepreneurs can do their marketing effectively in Taiwan. Because if you don't know about the trends in Taiwan, if you don't know how to marketing your products, if you don't know how to convey your marketing message effectively in a manner that echoes with your Taiwanese customer, it's very difficult for you to achieve success for your business here in Taiwan.
所以我相信你应该是非常多外国人，尤其是来台湾想要来创业的他们的福音。因为 I don't know, maybe Nick, that resonate with you. Like, was it really difficult when you first started business, like to find anything in English about Taiwan?
I would say that the difficulty of even like registering your business or building anything in Taiwan was here. So it's like when the basics are really difficult, once you start in to get like, how do you grow your business? How do you scale your business? And you get into specialties like say digital marketing trends in a different country. If you can't find the basics, it's almost impossible to find anything advanced. So I would be curious, when you first started and you started talking with other foreign entrepreneurs here in Taiwan, what misconceptions or what frustrations did you see when they were trying to connect their ideas to a local audience? Usually, was there any stereotypical or really common frustration where you're like, yeah, I've heard that before?
I would say that the most difficult part is language barriers, and I myself experienced that as well. I have to say that I'm very lucky that I can read and write Chinese, but when I arrived here, speaking Mandarin is a problem. But now I can have a comfortable level of language, but because I'm still from like a Chinese community, I grew up in a Chinese background, but I would say that language barriers is one of the most difficult things that most entrepreneurs have difficulties in overcoming. And this would be a problem for foreign entrepreneurs to promote their products or service here, because most clients or customer here would only read or understand Chinese promotion. So if you don't have a way in converting your English messages into Chinese, it is very difficult for you to sell your products.
So I'm guessing you probably saw a lot of the reverse problem where in Taiwan, you see a lot of people with like English t-shirts that are just crazy or make no sense, or the English on their website is just really unprofessional compared to the product they made. I'm guessing you saw a lot of the reverse too, like people just putting their English messaging into Google Translate and then it comes out a little bit nonsense, right?
Yeah. We now have very sophisticated AI-based translation software, but still, Chinese is a rather complex language, and then slight changes in the context would totally affect the meanings of like a certain sentence. So still, it is something that I see that you can't really rely on machine, and you still need someone to help you to manually do it. And another thing that I feel is very important regarding translation or like crossing the language barriers, language differences, is that it's about localizations, because there are ways how or expressions that you would need to use to resonate with your customer. An example that come up in my mind is chocolate. In Taiwan, we would say that is 巧克力. Mm-hmm. In Hong Kong, we will say that is 朱古力.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you can see that even we Hong Kongers write traditional Chinese, and Taiwanese customer also read or write traditional Chinese. But the way how we express or how we refer to our things is different. So certain localization is needed when you are communicating to customer, and further if you want to them to really resonate with your message, this kind of localization is something that is needed. That's I see many foreign entrepreneurs need help with.
觉得这种台湾的消费者对于这种本土化是真的非常的重视，就是你要用的很恰当的一些词句 right? So I think that is going to be really difficult for a lot of foreigners.
You've talked about in your own profession, doing content creation and helping people craft their messages. Are there any trends, or is there anything that you've seen in crafting your message for local Taiwanese that maybe surprise a foreigner? As far as like they didn't think that was important, or they wouldn't know about that until working with you?
Well, I would say that comparing my experience between Taiwan and Hong Kong, Taiwan promotions, I have a feeling that Taiwanese marketers would use more of emotional appeal or trying to move customer in a emotional way to convey their message or push them to or persuade them to do certain actions. Yeah, this is something that I see which is very different between Hong Kong and Taiwan.
That's really interesting because you're talking about that emotional appeal. And right away, I can think of so many different commercials that I've watched here in Taiwan, like a lot of insurance commercial that all have to have that emotional appeal. 但是您刚刚有讲到说，它其实跟在香港你的在那边的经验其实有一段差距. So could you describe that difference? Like how would digital marketing work in Hong Kong? Like what would people care about in Hong Kong?
Well, I would say that in Hong Kong, people, of course, when they are considering whether they would purchase a product or use a service, the first thing they will consider is if the product or service is what they need or is something that would solve their problems. But the difference is that I would see that most advertisement or most of the time how Hong Kong marketers promote something would be from a more objective or practical angle. But here in Taiwan, people likes to use more emotional appeal. This is something I would say that like a cultural difference in marketing tactics or approach or angle.
Could you share with us a little bit about when you're starting to craft a message, or maybe the first time that you meet a foreign entrepreneur and you want to understand their needs or the type of digital promotion they want to, how does that conversation work? How do you inform them about some of these cultural differences, or how do you help them realize what's going to be necessary to change or to think about in order to localize content?
Usually, I will start working with my clients by identifying their target audience, because one common problem that I see in many entrepreneurs is when I ask them who are your target audience or who are you selling to, they would give me answers like everybody. But it is, if you are telling me that you are trying to sell something to everybody, usually you sell it to nobody, because if you putting your marketing messages in a very general way, it's very difficult to trigger anyone's into actions, because one thing that, or one key elements that I see in many success advertisement or promotion message is that the promotion message would, when you see that it touch you, why it would touch you is because you feel that it is speaking directly to you and it is something that fulfills your needs, whether it is practical, you have a practical needs or you have an emotional needs. But you will feel that a good advertisement is speaking directly to you. So the first thing I would suggest to my clients, or the first thing that I will start investigating with my client, is who they should be targeting their marketing message to.
Yeah, I definitely agree with this idea is that when you target everyone, you target no one. And one of the things that, at least when we talk to audiences in a presentation or pitch scenario, is a very much the same thing, where most people think, okay, if I have a general audience, my goal is to make everyone happy. But that's not always true. In the case of marketing as well, is, for example, you may love the marketing and I may have no feeling about it, or I may hate it. But if they're trying to sell the product to you, it's still successful. Because if I don't like it, they're not trying to get me to buy it anyway. They're actually targeting it at the person who, like you said, resonates or finds a connection with that. When you're having a conversation and helping them narrow down and target their audiences, do you usually get a lot of pushback, or is this something that people start to accept pretty easily?
Yeah, usually if I understand the rationale of why you should niche down, usually my client will see that, will agree with that, because this is something that they can experience firsthand. Because while we are trying to sell people something, we are at the same time we are also consumer ourselves, and our consumer habit or our purchase decisions is based on our needs. So if I explain this to them, they would usually see the point.
Since you also will build your own content creation either for yourself or working with a client, helping them get into the head of a customer, do you have any special techniques or any advice for how you can start thinking in that target audience's head? Like really understanding what they would want or what they would care about?
That's something that I encourage every entrepreneur or business owner or if you are trying to sell a product or service, try to find as much opportunities to talk to your customers as possible, because it is always, you can always get the most valuable information from them. And sometimes you will be surprised by their answers, or they will give you something that you have never thought of.
So along that line, and I'm just wondering, you've been helping a lot of foreigners, entrepreneurs to localize, understanding Taiwanese market, how to do digital marketing here, 帮助很多外国的一些创业家了解要怎么样本土化，或者是做那种 emotional appeal. 那如果我们今天把它倒过来好了，因为有很多台湾的 entrepreneur, they want to push their product out. How do they do that? Like, is there any advice that you would ask them? Like, obviously you talked about understanding the target audience. 但是像台湾的这个国家，我们要怎么向外去了解？比如说我今天要把我的商品卖到美国， How do I get to talk to the target audience, or how do I actually conduct my first step of my research to kind of start to understand how digital marketing works in another country? Do you have any advice on that?
I think the first thing you would need to know would be the channels which your target countries are commonly using for that digital marketing, because for each countries or each areas, the types of channels that they would commonly use would be very different. In Taiwan, I would advise most of my clients to use Facebook or Instagram or Line. But for places like US, you may need to switch to Twitter and TikToks. And TikToks is really big now in America. Yeah, so first you will need to identify the channels, and then you will need to think about which channel will help you to reach most of your target audience. Because, for example, just take TikToks and Twitters as example. If you're wanting to reach like a younger audience, what we call Gen Z would be like between 18 to 25. Those kind of younger audience, you should be on TikTok. But if you are wanting to reach more sophisticated or more mature audience, then you would need to be on Twitter. So another thing you will need to consider is which platform you should use, and choose the right platform so that you can reach your target audience.
I really like how Jeanie used the word sophisticated.
Yeah.
大家可以学起来。当你要形容年纪比较大一点的，你就用 sophisticated audience. The word the sophisticated audience.
When you think of terms like localized platforms or channels, I find that the way that Line and Line@ get used in Taiwan is very different from anywhere else in the world. Like I would say in the US, WeChat, I don't think has found a strength in the way that Line groups have. China, you have WeChat. Something else that comes to my mind along the lines of channels and audience age would also be, I noticed in Taiwan, short form content is king. In the US, TikTok is very short, but it's at a very specific age group. But as people become, quote unquote, more sophisticated, this long form content does tend to take off. And I'd be curious, in your experience looking at Taiwan, at least my first impression is that it's all short form. No one has very clearly succeeded in long form. But is that a trend that you think is coming up, or do you think it's really about the short form here in Taiwan?
Well, I would say that it depends on like a generation or age of your audience or what kind of information or their intents when they are searching for contents. For example, if your audience are searching for like entertainment contents, those bite-sized or short forms like TikToks videos or reels on Instagram, those videos under 1 minute would be ideal for them because those are very fast-paced, those are very entertaining, and those are something that this kind of audience are looking for because they are looking for fun and entertainment. But if your audience are wanting to really learn something, they would naturally look for long-form contents like YouTube's video. Many people would go on to YouTube to search for videos when they want to learn to do something, or blogs. Blogs still have a lot of values because especially if you are in the B2B, if your clients are business clients, then blogs is something that would be something very valuable to help you to establish like a professional image or like thought leaderships. So it's very much depends on your audience, the types of audience and your audience need, what they are looking for at the moment.
So it's back to 你有讲过，就是真的要很了解你的 TA， 你的 target audience， 他们的需求。那知道了解他们需求，也知道说，那你要呈现的是什么样子内容，是短的，是长的。I mean, even on like YouTube, there's shorts now, and a lot of people are finding that shorts really helps them to grow. So just really understanding the audience.
So I think one thing that also gives you a really unique perspective is that although you're helping people localize content here in Taiwan, you also had experience looking at a very different mindset and a very different level of digital marketing in Hong Kong, where you have a huge number of international brands, headquarters, finance centers, etc. So is there any real highlight that in a place like Hong Kong, where it's very internationalized, that you think people can learn from, or looking forward into the future of digital marketing in Taiwan, that they should really keep that in mind in order to hit this more international mindset?
Well, I would be hoping that because I'm now officially a Taiwanese, and of course I will hope that we will wish for the best for Taiwan. I would really hope that Taiwan can be more bilingual. Yeah. So the reason for me to like set out to build Digital Marketing Taiwan is because I see there's an unavailability or a lack of English information. And I was just hoping that if Taiwan can take a step further in making most of the things bilingual, that would help a lot in attracting more foreign talents or foreign investments to Taiwan and making Taiwan more internationalized.
I think that's a really wonderful message for all of our listeners because that's what we're here for, right? And hoping, I think Taiwan is definitely gearing up to be more of a bilingual country. But I think a lot of times when a country decided to go bilingual, it started from education. But for us who are the sophisticated audience, we're working now. We can't go back to school. We don't have a lot of time. Do you have any advice for them? How to take that step to be more bilingual?
I think they can spare more time in learning. For example, listening to your podcast and trying to absorb information in English. Because I can see that many people would rely on like Chinese channel to absorb information, but still especially in the digital marketing fields, because most of the platforms, most of the tools that we are using like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, they are from the state. They're from the Western. So if you are in the digital marketing field, getting information from like people from the state will give you the most updated instant information. But if you are waiting to learn the information in Chinese, there will be like a time gap. And also, I feel that sometimes learning things from another language will give you another perspective, like opening your mind. I feel that if you can absorbing information at the same time from in Chinese and in English, it will help you to broaden your perspective.
Yeah, I really think that that's a main point. And something that you touched on earlier with the bilingual is it's not a matter of being bilingual because you need to be bilingual. It's more along the lines of what opportunities do bilingual create for you? In terms of, sometimes you can find information firsthand before it gets translated, before someone else filters it for you, but get it firsthand. But then too is I think that mindset thing, and it goes both ways, is when you're operating in both languages, you can think from it from two perspectives. Not that one is right and one is wrong, but it may just be even in your position where it's like, I can get a lot of firsthand information about marketing trends in English, but now I have to also absorb what's happening in Taiwan and then judge for myself which of these paths, or is it a hybrid of these paths that makes more sense for building my company, rather than just going, well, the Americans market this way, but it doesn't work in Taiwan. Or in Taiwan, I market this way, but then when everybody markets this way, I'm not finding any kind of traction or any kind of differentiation. But by bringing both of those together, you can be more agile. You can be more flexible.
Really like that. 不只是我们要可能多听，但是也要多看、多吸收其他国家来的一些资讯。所以尤其像书了 take for example books. Like people, in order for books to be translated here in Taiwan, that will take a couple of years. And that's why a lot of things could be a bit delayed here. There is that time gap. 所以我觉得刚刚 Jeanie 给我们的一个建议非常的好. Try to absorb as much information possible in English.
So I want to wrap up this interview on a bit of a fun note. From your own content and having brief conversations with you, I understand that you're a tango enthusiast, right? Could you tell us a little bit more about your journey with dance and how you've brought that to Taiwan as well?
Yeah, actually, Tango is the things that brought me to Taiwan. Yeah, I have been dancing Tango. I just celebrate my decades in Tango this month. And my connection with Taiwan actually comes a lot from Tango. Taiwan and Hong Kong Tango communities has very close connection. And I started Tango in Hong Kong, but then Tango is a couple dance. So my lady teacher is a Hong Kong nurse, but her dance partner was from Taiwan. So that was like my first point of contact of Taiwan, start from there. Yeah. So, and then since I started Tango, because in Tango there would be a lot of events and people, because Hong Kong and Taiwan are so close. Of course, it was back before the COVID. It would take you just like an hour flight to travel between Hong Kong and Taiwan, and it's so convenient. And people would just come here for a weekend to dance Tango, and some Taiwanese Tango dancer will also do the same, in Hong Kong. So the two communities, if you have been in the communities for a while, then you would know people from both places. This is also what brought me to Taiwan, because I want to have some kind of like a fresh start or change of scene. So because I've already have these connections from Tango, and I already have my own social circle in Taiwan. So that makes me to want to go to Taiwan.
So if any of our listeners have any kind of interest in understanding the tango scene, is there a particular place that you would recommend them to start, either an event or a venue that they should go and see how to get going with tango?
Yeah, we have tango event every Saturday in a place called Tangissimo, which is at Zhongxiao Dunhua. Yeah, so you can look it up on Facebook, and if you are interested in seeing how tango is danced and how a tango event looks like, then you can go check it out. But I would say that having a hobby which is very different from what you are doing can sometimes give you very different perspective. And this is something that I see that differentiate me from other marketers because I have such hobbies and sometimes I find some insights or I look at things very differently from my colleagues. And this is something that enriches me as a marketer.
Sometimes it's just that different perspective or inspiration from different places.
And we'll have all those information in our show notes.
Yeah. So thank you again so much for joining us, Jeanie. If people want to find out more about you or more about Digital Marketing Taiwan, where can they go to look for information?
You can search Digital Marketing Taiwan on Google, then you will find our website, or you can search Digital Marketing Taiwan on Facebook and Instagram. You will also find us.
I love today's episode. We talked about digital marketing. We talked about bilingualism. We talked about Tango. We talked about widening our perspective and enriching ourselves. Thank you so much for coming to our show today.
Yeah, it's an honor and thank you for having me.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed our wide-ranging conversation with Jeanie. And again, check out our show notes, see links to everything that we've talked about, and let us know how you feel by leaving a rating on either Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
The Executive Plus podcast is a Presentality Group production, produced and hosted by Sherry Fang and Nick Howard. You can search us on Facebook, 主管英文 Executive Plus. You can also find us on Instagram, Communication R&D, and email us at sherry@epstyleplus.com.